awarded NIA MUA scholarships, and Ministry of Education begins early childhood expansion consultancy. Regionally, massive protests continue in Puerto Rico after governor refuses to step down. Internationally, Pakistan's PM meets Trump in bid to mend ties. And in sports, New Zealand beat Australia by 1 goal in final of Netball World Cup. We'll have the details to these and other stories after this message.
Another look.
Different from how you've seen it before.
Another look.
Takes an in-depth look into business, politics, science, technology, religion, and more.
Another look.
Featuring documentaries from the BBC, regional features, and local ones too.
Another look.
Every Monday at 3 p.m. on the Eastern Caribbean's powerhouse, Vaughan.
Welcome back, and now the national news in detail. 2 students here on Nevis will once more benefit from scholarship opportunities to pursue tertiary education. The opportunity comes thanks to a long-standing partnership between the Nevis Island Administration, NIA, and the Medical University of the Americas, MUA. Miss Deresia Bryant and Mr. Ryan E. Ferguson were named as the 2 successful students who were selected by the MUA-NIA Scholarship Committee to pursue studies in priority areas listed by the NIA. The 2 were presented with the scholarships during a ceremony hosted by the Ministry of Health on July 17, 2019 at the Ministry of Finance Conference Room in Charlestown. Ms. Bryant will pursue a Bachelor of Science in Interdisciplinary Studies in the field of special education at Midwestern State University in Texas, while Mr. Ferguson will pursue a Bachelor of Science in Mathematics with a minor in Mechanical Engineering. Ferguson, who was not able to be present, was represented by his mother, who, along with Bryant, thanked the Nevis Island Administration and the Medical University of the America for the opportunity provided. Meanwhile, Junior Minister of Health, Honorable Hazel Brandy Williams, has called on the scholarship awardees to do their best in their studies and commended them for the field they have chosen. She expressed to Miss Deresia Bryant, and I quote, "I understand that you would be doing something in special education. It's an area that we definitely need some additional support in, and I am happy that you are doing that, because in as much as we look at those persons who are mainstream, we also have to look at those who need additional help, that special one-on-one touch," end of quote. To Mr. Ferguson's mother, she said, and I quote, "We applaud his efforts and his bravery, because pursuing math and engineering is an area that we have not seen persons gravitating to in the recent past, and so we are happy that he has now seen it fit to embark on that important journey, and I'm hoping that beacon, that light, encourages others to go along that line," end of quote. The Junior Minister of Health further expressed that administration is grateful for the cordial relationship they share, one in which the university continues to give a stellar contribution to students of Nevis. Among those present at the ceremony were Mrs. Shalisa Martin Clark, Acting Permanent Secretary in the Ministry of Health, and Permanent Secretary in the Ministry of Human Resources, Mr. Edson Elliott. Staff of the Early Childhood Development Unit in St. Kitts have voiced their pleasure at the progress made following the recently concluded initial visit of the consultancy team to analyze supply and demand in the early childhood sector and prepare costed options for sustainable expansion. The objective of the consultancy is to deliver 2 models of expansion in the education sector for consideration by the government, which would guide expansion of the sector and the related investment. The Ministry of Education, with the support of UNICEF, established a contract with Basis Solidas Consultants, who stated that apart from the ministry stakeholders, the team also met with parents, a very key group in determining the way forward in the early childhood sector. Permanent Secretary of Education, Mr. Vincent Hodge, shared his enthusiasm and that of the ministry with the thrust to expand the already flourishing sector. Officials from the St. Kitts Music Festival Committee have provided some statistics regarding the music festival, which ended a little over 3 weeks ago. The festival was held from Thursday, June 27th to Saturday, June 29th at the Kim Collins Athletic Stadium in Bird Rock. An opening fete called Escape was held at Salt Plage on June 26th, and the White Sands event was held at the Carambola, St. Kitts. Here is Minister of Tourism in St. Kitts, the Honorable Lindsay Grant, speaking to the numbers.
Thursday night, 6,152. Friday night, 6,777. Saturday night, 14,210, for a global total record of 27,139 patrons attending the St. Kitts Music Festival. We have to contrast that, because even when you looked at the Saturday night with 14,210, we knew that Buju Banton performed in Jamaica to a crowd of some 40,000. Jamaica with a population of 2.3, thereabout, million people. St. Kitts, we put 14,000 people with a population of 50,000.
The Honorable Lindsay Grant. Meantime, when asked if the athletic stadiums will be the home of the festival, Chairman of the St. Kitts Music Festival, Mr. Damien Hobson, gave this response.
The Kim Collins Athletic Stadium permission has to be given from the Ministry of Sports. That has not even been asked for 2020 as yet. We are currently looking at the various venues throughout St. Kitts to see what is the best venue to host the 2020 St. Kitts Music Festival. We would have seen, I think, when you look at the Kim Collins Stadium, we had 14,000 people there on Saturday. We probably could have squeezed in another 1,000 people if we had to. So we are at its maximum at the Kim Collins Stadium. So depending on what we do for 2020, we want to make it bigger than 2019. We probably have to look at another venue or to redesign the Kim Collins Athletic Stadium. We are still looking to see what is the best possible venue.
Mr. Damien Hobson. Almost 4 years have passed since the death of 17-year-old Philo Wallace, and persons are still protesting and echoing the call for justice. Chairperson of the Foundation for Social Concerns, FSC, Ruth Powell, stated that the role of the foundation extends to seeking judicial and social justice for all. Social justice includes access to a fair and non-discriminatory judicial system and equal acceptance of all individuals regardless of race. In October 2015, around 3:45 a.m., an altercation took place at Enrique's Bar in Charlestown, which resulted in Wallace being shot in the chest and the wounding of a police officer, who was later on identified as the individual who shot Wallace at close range and was off duty at the time of the incident. A coroner's inquest in 2016, which comprised of a 5-member jury, had determined that Wallace's shooting death was a justifiable homicide. A coroner's inquest is an investigation into the cause of an individual's death conducted by the coroner or deputy coroner or investigator with a court reporter and jurors. On Monday, February 19, 2018, Constable Xavier Jeffers of Old Road was arrested and charged with manslaughter. Premier of Nevis, the Honorable Mark Brantley, will host his monthly press conference on Thursday, July 25th at the Cabinet Room on the second floor of the Social Security Building at Pinnies Estate. The event will commence at 10 a.m. At the press conference, Premier Brantley will give an update on matters of national interest. Members of the press will be afforded the opportunity to ask questions. The press conference will be broadcast live on Vaughan Radio. The Culturama 45 Soca Monarch semi-finals was held on Saturday, 20th July at the Cultural Village. The competition was held following the opening of the Cultural Village on that evening. The event was held in 2 segments, the Groovy and Power, with 12 artists performing in the Groovy and 11 in the Power segment. At the end of the competition, 7 artists, namely Pakis, X-Man, Savage, Soca Empress, Hollywood, Little Miss, and Ervika, move on to the finals of the Groovy segment. They will come up against reigning Groovy Soca Monarch Speedy. 7 artists also move on to the finals of the Power segment. They are Divi, Speedy, Soca Empress, Delano, Jeezy Sparta, Ras Brown, and Daddy Tusty. They will come up against the reigning Power Soca Monarch Delhi. The final is scheduled for Thursday, August 1st at the Cultural Village. The Nevis Island Administration will in the next 2 weeks will be holding the annual commemoration service for the MV Christina disaster. The memorial service commemorates the 49th anniversary of the disaster and will be held on Thursday, 1st August at the Christina Memorial on the Samuel Hunkins Drive, Charlestown at 10 a.m. The Christina sank on August 1st, 1970, Emancipation Day, as it traveled from St. Kitts to Nevis. The vessel, which was carrying 320 passengers, 165 over capacity, only saw 91 individuals surviving the tragedy. After the sinking, 57 bodies were retrieved and identified. 66 bodies were retrieved but were unidentifiable. A number of bodies were trapped inside the sunken wreckage, and these bodies were left in place. Finally, Trinity Explorers, that is the name given to the 8th Explorers Club, launched here in St. Kitts and Nevis. The club was launched at NEMA headquarters in St. Kitts on Sunday, 14th July, by the National Intervention Team in the Ministry of the National Security, headed by Inspector Rosemary Isles. Speaking at the launch of the club, Prime Minister and Minister of National Security, the Honorable Timothy Harris, expressed that, based on a study conducted throughout the Eastern Caribbean, parents and guardians are the single most important influence in a child's life. Following Prime Minister Harris' remarks, Inspector Isles led the children in reciting the Explorers' song and motto and officially handed them over to their new leader, Officer Luston Percival. Officer Percival welcomed the Trinity Explorers to his existing group and thanked Inspector Isles as well as the other members of the National Intervention Team for their hard work and dedication. That's the national news segment. You can visit our website at www.vonradio.com or check us out on Facebook at Von Radio or our Von Radio YouTube channel for these and other stories. News from across the region is next.
Ladies and gentlemen, this here's another one for the steppers.
Swipe to win big in 2019. That's right, the Bank of Nevis Limited is once again giving you, our valued customers, a chance to win big. Just swipe or use your Bond Visa credit card for US $100 for a chance to win a cruise for 2, an iPhone XS, or a grocery dash at Best Buy Supermarket.
Say what?
Sign up for a Bond Visa credit card and automatically be entered for a chance to win. This offer ends August 31st, 2019. So tell your friends and family to swipe to win big with the Bank of Nevis. The Bank of Nevis Limited, improving the quality of life. Like us on Facebook or follow us on Instagram.
Welcome back, and now the regional news in detail. Out of Puerto Rico, thousands of people have taken to the streets in Puerto Rico to demand the resignation of the island's embattled governor, Ricardo Ozello. It comes a day after Mr. Ozello said he would not step down over a leaked online chat in which he and top aides exchanged obscenity-laced messages. The text included homophobic slurs as well as insults about victims of the deadly Hurricane Maria in 2017. Today's protest is said to be the largest in the U.S. territory's history. Footage early on Monday morning showed crowded trains headed to the capital and long lines of protesters preparing to march in the sweltering Caribbean heat. Some protesters were seen blocking highways while chanting "Ricky Resign." The hashtags Ricky Resign and National Strike both trended on Twitter on Monday. In an attempt to appease protesters, he said he would not seek re-election. The BBC quoted him as saying in a video, "I hear you, I have made mistakes and I have apologized." Experts predict the crowd size will eclipse the largest protest in the island's history 15 years ago when Puerto Ricans successfully petitioned the U.S. military to end training missions on the island of Vacay. In Jamaica, the Statistical Institute of Jamaica, Statin, is reporting a further reduction in the unemployment rate to a new record low of 7.8%. As contained in Statin's April 2019 labor force survey, the figure is 2 percentage points lower than the 9.8% recorded for the corresponding period last year and 0.2% lower than the outturn for January. Director General Carol Coy said the number of unemployed persons as at April fell by 25,900 or 19.7% to 105,900 relative to 2018. According to the Director General, male unemployment rate declined by 1.8 percentage points to 5.5%, where the corresponding figure for males fell by 2.1 percentage points to 10.6%. The number of unemployed males decreased by 13,000 to 39,900 in April 2019. Over the same period, the number of unemployed females was 65,600. This was a decline of 12,900. Unemployment rate for youth aged 14 to 24 years fell by 6.4 percentage points from 25.9% in April 2018 to 19.5% this year. The total labor force increased to 1,349,900 persons, which is 4,000 more than in 2018. In the British Virgin Islands, despite making nearly $20 million in additional revenue in 2018, the Customs Department is still plagued with a number of issues, including the limited availability of resources and an outstanding salary increase for its officers. This was revealed by Acting Commissioner of Her Majesty's Custom, Leslie Letsom, during the 2019 Standing Finance Committee SFC deliberations back in April. He also shone light on the staffing issues faced by the department, stating that several persons had left following the 2017 hurricanes. He said more were expected to leave due to retirement and other reasons. According to BVInews.com, the Acting Customs Commissioner also said the Law Enforcement Department continues to face what he describes as challenges at the Cyril B. Romney Tortola Pier Park in Road Town. The head of Customs also raised the issue that his department has not been given a salary increase, although being promised one more than a decade ago. Finally, out of Barbados, Queen's Counsel Andrew Pilgrim has won a monumental victory over the Barbados Court of Appeal that gives him the green light to take an outstanding matter directly to the Caribbean Court of Justice, CCJ, for resolution. In a landmark ruling, the CCJ gave Pilgrim the authority to leapfrog the local Court of Appeal and have a matter heard before the Regional Judicial Tribunal. The decision of the final appellate court was reportedly made due to the inordinate length of time it was taking the Court of Appeal to rule in the case of Omar Da Costa Holder. Holder had been found guilty of the triple murders of 20-year-old Sakina Walwan, her 3-year-old son Shaquem Gittins, and 2-month-old daughter Shamaya Map on March 31, 2005, and was sentenced to death by Justice Margaret Riffer in 2010. However, Pilgrim appealed the sentence before the Court of Appeal in 2013, but has been unable to get a judgment since then. That's it for our regional stories. Stay with us for news around the world. Welcome back, and now the international news in detail. Pakistani Prime Minister Imran Khan is holding his first face-to-face talks with U.S. President Donald Trump during a trip to Washington, D.C. The meeting is part of a push to mend relations which have been strained by the Afghan conflict. Mr. Trump reduced security aid to Pakistan early last year, accusing the country of lies and deceit. But at the White House meeting on Monday, he said Pakistan never lies and praised Mr. Khan's leadership. Mr. Khan has previously said that U.S. assistance was minuscule compared with what the U.S.-led war on terror had cost Pakistan. As the two men prepared for their talks, they spoke to journalists and exchanged praise for each other's government. Since he won Pakistan's general election just under a year ago, Mr. Khan has called for mutually beneficial ties with America while remaining an outspoken critic of U.S. anti-terrorist tactics as drone strikes continues. Thousands of people have been celebrating the 50th anniversary of the first moon landing. On July 20th, 1969, the Eagle module from Apollo 11 landed at Tranquility Base. Hours later, at 9:56 p.m., Neil Armstrong made history by becoming the first person to walk on the moon. Originally inspired by the U.S. Cold War rivalry with the Soviet Union, the mission is now remembered as an iconic moment for stargazers all over the world. NASA marked the anniversary by streaming footage of the launch online, giving a new generation a chance to see the historic moment that was watched by 500 million people 50 years ago. South Africa's highest court has ruled that the public protector, the state official in charge of investigating corruption, lied under oath. Critics accuse her of aligning herself with other allies. More from the BBC's Andrew Harding.
The Constitutional Court said Busisiwe Mkhwebane must pay some $65,000 in legal fees from her own pocket, a fine, in other words. This particular case involves a complicated dispute between the public protector and South Africa's Reserve Bank, but many of Mrs. Mkhwebane's recent reports have become swamped by scandal and led to claims that she's siding with a corrupt and marginalised faction within the governing ANC. The courts have repeatedly overruled her, and President Cyril Ramaphosa is now challenging another of her reports, which found he'd lied to Parliament.
Finally, Kenya's finance minister has surrendered himself to the police after the chief prosecutor ordered his arrest over allegations of corruption. Henry Rotich is accused of floating procurement procedures in awarding a contract worth over $450 million for the construction of 2 dams to the Italian company CMC de Ravenna. In March, Rotich denied any wrongdoing in a large newspaper advert. We have more in this BBC report.
The public prosecutor, Nurdin Haji, said Mr. Rotich had flouted procurement procedures when he awarded multi-million-dollar tenders to an Italian construction company. Mr. Haji is also investigating how the tender was inflated by more than $170 million from the initial contract signed. In a press conference, he said colossal amounts were unjustifiably and illegally paid out through a well-choreographed scheme by government officers in collusion with private individuals and institutions. Millions of dollars have already been paid out for projects which are either incomplete or have yet to begin.
That brings us to the end of our news segments. The latest in sports is next.
See you, John.
Betty, how come you never tell me what's going on up at TDC?
Well, I'm glad you asked because TDC Automotive has some awesome deals. Get the car a new spare tire for just $100 plus VAT. And they have selected tires for 30% off. And for the Jeep, if you buy a selected Goodyear tire, you can get a second one for just $99.
Well.
And not finished yet. They're offering up to 30% off selected Valvoline oils and universal car mats and a whopping 50% off Energix batteries.
TDC Automotive not making no joke. I going up there now.
Welcome back. Another sports in detail. In netball, New Zealand stunned holders and 11-time champions Australia to win the 2019 Netball World Cup in Liverpool on Sunday. The final was tense throughout and came down to the dying seconds and just one goal as the Kiwis prevailed 52-51. It was the Silver Ferns' fifth world title, but their first since 2003, as they finally ended the Diamonds' dominance. England clinched bronze with a 58-42 victory over South Africa in their playoff match earlier on Sunday. Australia reached the final unbeaten, defeating the Silver Ferns in their last group game by a single goal, and they brought the score back to that margin in the fourth quarter as Liverpool prepared for a spectacular finish. In local sports, the Malcolm Gishard Basketball League continued on Thursday evening, July 18th, which featured a match between Youth and Sports Eagles and CG Massives. The Eagles were leading by 2 points at the end of the first quarter. Then Massives took a 5-point lead at the end of the second quarter. The scoreline at halftime was 38-35 in favor of the CG Massives. However, in the end, the Eagles defeated the Massives by 14-point margin. Final scores were Eagles 76, Massives 62. In cricket, former India captain MS Dhoni will miss a tour of the West Indies to join up with his army regiment instead. The wicketkeeper batsman is an honorary lieutenant colonel on a reserve force called the Territorial Army in India. Following increased speculation about his future, the 2011 World Cup winner is now set to spend the majority of the next 2 months with his regiment. The 30-year-old veteran of 350 one-day internationals struggled for form as India went out of the World Cup in the semi-finals. He retired from Test cricket in 2014. It is reported that Dhoni revealed his decision to India's cricket governing body before Sunday's selection committee meeting. The squad for the upcoming tour will be announced on August 3rd. That's it for the sports segment. The general weather forecast is next. Welcome back, and now the local weather forecast for St. Kitts and Nevis. Weather tonight, cloudy with showers and a 20% or slight chance of thunderstorm. Winds east-southeast at 20 to 31 kilometers per hour or 11 to 17 knots. Seas 1 to 1.2 meters or 3 to 4 feet. And sunrise tomorrow will be at 7:47 a.m. And that's how we wrap up the major news package for today, Monday, July 22nd, 2019. Before we go, let's take a look at the headlines once again. Nationally, 2 awarded NIA MUA scholarships, and Ministry of Education begins early childhood expansion consultancy. Regionally, massive protests continue in Puerto Rico after governor refuses to step down. Internationally, Pakistan's PM meets Trump in bid to mend ties. And in sports, New Zealand beat Australia by 1 goal in final of Netball World Cup. On behalf of the rest of the news team, I am Tammy Reed, wishing you a pleasant evening.
VON vibrates, the whole Caribbean must shake.
860 AM, the powerhouse. It is now 6:30 in the Eastern Caribbean. Good evening to one and all out there in Radioland. Today is Monday, the 22nd day of July, 2019. I am Melissa Martin. I'll be keeping you company this evening.
It's love, passion, pride. Culturama 45. It's the king. In the burning sun, in the night, in the rain, the vision celebrating. 45 years of Culturama. This grand occasion, shining bright again and again, a real cultural awakening. 45 years of Culturama. Set mass and folklore, revelers ball encore, encore. 45 years of Culturama. The greatest summer festival in the world. You don't want to miss this bacchanal at all. From night till morning, it's fete we fetting. Big jam session with music can done. Yeah. This festival like it having sweetness. That is the cry coming from a tourist. The mass and folklore that she witnessed. Such cultural flavor only in Nevis. Rejuvenate my flavor. The long jam is super. And then on parade day, we culture on display. This cultural fete have a reputation. It gives you joy and inspiration. Tout Moon and Sam join the celebration. 45 years of real satisfaction. Come on. 3 cheers to Little Nevis. I say come on. Celebrate this cultural sweetness. Hip hip. Hip hip. Hip hip. Hooray, yeah. From country to tongue, old and young, with the same sentiments and singing. 45 years of Culturama. Like the atmosphere, interfere with the brain, cause that is all I hear. 45 years of Culturama. With the words spreading, temperature rising for sure. 45 years of Culturama. Tourists come by land and sea and air. Kittitions coming, so you better prepare. For saints and sinners, real party lovers, they're in a frenzy. This anniversary, yeah. This festival like it having sweetness. That is the cry coming from a tourist. The mass and folklore that she witnessed. Such cultural flavor only in Nevis. Rejuvenate my flavor. The long jam is super. And then on parade day, we culture on display. This cultural fete have a reputation. It gives you joy and inspiration. Tout Moon and Sam join the celebration. 45 years of real satisfaction. Come on. 3 cheers to Little Nevis. I say come on. Celebrate this cultural sweetness. Hip hip. Hip hip. Hip hip. Hooray, yeah.
masqueraders chanting. 45 years of Culturama. Big traffic jam on the streets in the band. The troops and bands parading. 45 years of Culturama. Juve and last lap, we going non-stop and more. 45 years of Culturama. I don't tell the police already to make sure this festival is run peacefully like before. The world is watching how we behaving, so take it easy. This anniversary, yeah. This festival like it having sweetness. That is the cry coming from a tourist. The mass and folklore that she witnessed. Such cultural flavor only we need this. Rejuvenate the flavor, the long jam is super, and then on parade, we culture on display. This festival have a reputation. It gives you joy and inspiration. Tooth Moon and Sam join the celebration. 45 years of your satisfaction. Come on. 3 cheers to Little Nevis. I say come on. Celebrate this cultural sweetness. Hip hip. Hip hip. Hip hip. Hooray, yeah. Hip hip. Hip hip. Hip hip. Hooray, yeah. 3 cheers for the world's greatest summer festival. Nevis Culturama. It's love, passion, pride.
I am Constable Kevin Davis of the Criminal Investigation Department. As a Culturama celebration journey, the Criminal Investigation Department of the Royal St. Christopher and Nevis Police Force, Nevis Division, would like to alert the general public, especially those persons who are operators of business places, of the following. Ensure that your shops, stores, supermarkets, home, etc. are properly and adequately secure at all times when leaving. On leaving your business place, engage your security system. Do not leave cash and other valuables and negotiables items exposed. This could invite potential breakers and burglars. When leaving your business place, make sure a light or lights are left on, which may serve as a deterrent to potential burglars. When making deposit, if possible, use different routes, vehicles, and times. Do not wait until closing times to make deposit. And remember to exercise extreme caution when making deposit at the night safe. Always look out for suspicious persons and vehicles. The general public is also advised to be on the lookout for counterfeit notes, both US and EC currency, in the denomination of $20, $50, and $100 bills. We at this department continue to solicit the help of the general public in our fight against crime and drug-related activities, and would like to take this opportunity to wish everyone a safe Culturama season. Thank you.
Wow, it's finished. No, that's not finished. That's Complete Land Services. Visit Complete Land Services. They are the #1 experts on surveying, engineering, land development, real estate services, project planning and management, property appraisal, and architectural services. Find them today on Keon Street, Boston, St. Kitts, or call 466-5220 or 662-6646. Complete Land Services. Nobody puts it all together quite so perfectly.
With St. Kitts and Nevis into the 2019 hurricane season, the Nevis Air and Seaports Authority, NASPA, is reminding the people of Nevis to be prepared for potential hurricane activity during the period June 1st to November 30th, 2019. The Antigua Met Service, through information from the National Hurricane Center NHC, is responsible for providing forecast updates for the Leeward Islands. Major updates are given at 5 a.m., 11 a.m., 5 p.m. and 11 p.m., whereas intermediate updates are given at 8 a.m., 2 p.m. and 8 p.m. Citizens should continue to listen to local radio stations along with the local Met office for periodic updates. This hurricane preparedness tip was brought to you by the Nevis Ear and Seaports Authority, NASPA, in association with Vaughan Radio.
We stamp it, yes we stamp it. We stamp it, yes we stamp it. We stamp it, yes we stamp it. We stamp it, yes we stamp it.
Gonna get my boots and gear up, ready to stamp, I'm fed up. Fed up on the hate now, all the negativity, all the gang violence in my country. I'm gonna push them high, I'm gonna push them low. So bring your boots and let we go. I'm stamping on the gang and the violence. Let's stamp it out today. And if you see the crime, don't stay silent. Let's stamp it out the way. I'm stamping on the gang and the violence. Let's stamp it out today. And when you see the youth walking up, right? Brought my hammer to break up. Crime everywhere, so wake up. No stopping me, cause I real vex. The pregnancy is on my chest. Educate your daughters, educate your sons. I got my boots, the moment come. I'm stamping on the gang and the violence. Let's stamp it out today. And if you see a crime, don't stay silent. Let's stamp it out today. I'm stamping on the gang and the violence. Let's stamp it out the way. And when you see the youth walking upright, gonna get my bricks and build up a strong tower that lives up. We are the future, we are the now. United we stand, let's take that vow. A positive difference for the world to see. Yes, it can work, come join with me. A stamping on the gang and the violence. Let's stamp it out today.
This time check is brought to you by Midtown Motel. This summer, take a break and visit Midtown Motel in St. Martin. For reservations, call 1721-542-0590.
It is now 6:46.
From Queen City, Nevis, this is the powerhouse of the Eastern Caribbean, Vaughn Radio.
Ooh la la, you set me on fire with that strong desire. Ooh la la, it's like an addiction with your body friction. Boy, I love your waist action. You walk me bumper with passion. Oh, what a wicked sensation. I love the soca injection. What you do with pride. Make them know that you not hide. Brave it like Bonnie and Clyde. Joy ride this bumper in one stride. It's so intense, feeling so immense. You soca romance me just right. You touch me so tight. Your compass on point. It's hot, hot, hot. Walk all night. Ooh la la, come and tingle my nerves. Vibrate all of my curves. Ooh la la, please to grip me tighter. Shock me like live wire. Grip me right around me waist. Conceal all the empty space. Don't let this bumper go to waste. Dirty wine on it with grace. Cause commotion to motion. Create waves like the ocean. Wine on me be my cushion. Get cheeky with your waist action. It gets so intense, feeling so immense. You soca romance me just right. You touch me so tight. Your compass on point. It's hot, hot, hot. Walk all night. Ooh la la, that smooth body texture. Massage me so tender. Ooh la la, put hands on me shoulder and ignite me bumper. Now you make me heart flutter. Infuse me body with sugar. It's you who raise me temperature and make me feel hot all over. In your arms you hold me tight. Never let go through the night. Like gunpowder, it's dynamite. Light me, let's explode tonight. It gets so intense, feeling so immense. You soca romance me just right. You touch me so tight. Your compass on point. It's hot, hot, hot. Walk all night. Ooh la la, la la, la la. Ooh la la, la la, la la.
Feel the Culturama fever. Feel the Culturama vibe as it comes alive. And to give you that swag feeling, shop at Sports Center. Find them on Main Street, Charlestown for new arrivals in men, women, and girls' clothing. Shoes and sneakers of all sizes in brands such as Nike, Adidas, Jordan, Puma, New Balance, and Timberlands. And just for you, take advantage of their sale on men and women's sandals, along with other types of shoes, backpacks, perfumes, handbags, and not forgetting their sparkling jewelry for men and women. Have an enjoyable Culturama as Sports Center celebrates with you.
It is now 10 minutes before 7 o'clock. Up next, BBC Sports.
World Sport from the BBC with me, Tom Gale. Coming up in the next 10 minutes, one man remains untouchable at swimming's World Championships.
PT's world champion, 57.1 is time. Superb British swimming.
Plus, we ask if time in Madrid is up for the 4 times Champions League winner Gareth Bale, and Tiger Woods gets some advice from a fellow golfing legend. But we start in swimming, where there was more history for Britain's Adam Peaty at the World Championships in Guangzhou, where he became the first male to win 3 world titles in the 100 metres breaststroke. The 24-year-old is now unbeaten in 5 years over the distance, but he was unable to replicate his world record-breaking form from the semi-finals, where he broke the 57-second barrier.
You know, my biggest demon today was getting faster than yesterday, so I had to be a better version of myself. Unfortunately, I made a tiny little mistake on that first limp. I was trying to force myself a little bit too much on that first 50, and I ran out a little bit of gas towards that last 5 metres, but it's still a 57.1. It's not like I've gone something slower, so I feel like I'm a little bit disappointed, but that's just my brain working overtime that I didn't get that world record again. But I think I need to just sink in now to kind of enjoy the moment, because it only comes around every 2 years. And ending my career, I want to look back and actually enjoy it. But I've got a 50 tomorrow, and yeah, we'll see what happens. I know there's some tough competition from the Brazilians, but I know the power's there, I know the speed's there, and if I can lay it down correctly, then hopefully another WR will go.
Elsewhere, Canadian teenager Margaret McNeil won the women's 100 metres butterfly to end Sweden's Sarah Sjöström's bid for 5 gold medals in a single individual event. The American Caleb Dressel, who won 7 titles in Budapest 2 years ago, claimed his 2nd gold of the championship, adding the 50 metres butterfly title to his goal from the 4x100 metre freestyle relay, while Hungary's Katinka Husuku claimed her 4th world title in the women's 200 metres individual medley. Now, away from the pool, the Australian Mac Horton has received a warning from swimming's world governing body FINA over his refusal to share a podium with China's Sun Yang after the men's 400 metres freestyle final on Sunday. Sun, who has served a doping ban in 2014, has previously been labelled a drug cheat by Horton. It was the Chinese swimmer who took gold on Sunday, Horton the bronze, and the Australian explained his actions.
I won't share a podium with someone who's behaved in the way that he has. It's tough, it's scary to do, but nothing's changing. I think the athletes need to make a stand. People train 10, 15 years of their life, clean, the best, everything they can, and then there's people that behave like this and think they can get away with whatever, and it's not on.
With more on the background to the incident, here's Olympic medalist and BBC swimming reporter Steve Parry.
Mac Horton, the Australian, he beat Sun Yang in the 2016 Olympics on the 400 metres freestyle. Mac had already referred to Sun Yang as a drugs cheat for an infringement in 2014 when Sun Yang did serve a 3-month postponement due to taking a banned substance. And now it's all reared its head again, because last September some drug testers went round Sun Yang's house in China, and he refused to let them leave with some blood samples, is the long and the short of it. And either him or his mother ended up smashing the vials of blood with a hammer. Now, clearly that isn't the way for an athlete to behave. What's disappointing is that the world governing body, FINA, haven't been transparent on this matter, and that then leads to frustration from the athletes, because there is a Court of Arbitration for Sport hearing going on, but it's happening in September. Why, when it happened last September, is it being heard in this September? So a lot of athletes are upset. But Mac Horton got a big round of applause from the athletes in the athletes' canteen yesterday when he walked in for this stance that he took.
Football, and the Real Madrid forward Gareth Bale is very close to leaving the Spanish club, according to boss Zinedine Zidane. Despite being a 4-time Champions League winner with the club, Bale was left out of Real's 3-1 pre-season defeat to Bayern Munich in the United States. Reports are linking the Welshman with a lucrative move to China, but the BBC's David Ornstein feels he could end up staying.
The issue here is that Bale holds the aces because he's under contract until 2022. According to his agent Jonathan Barnett, it will be his decision, not that of Mr. Zidane. And Bale has got a very lucrative contract as well, so there's every suggestion that he might also choose to sit on that for a bit longer and sit tight and see what his options are. His family are very happy in Madrid. You never know, managers often change more quickly than players, so if Zidane leaves and another manager comes in that does like Bale, perhaps his fortunes could still change. He's only 30 years old.
In boxing, Anthony Joshua's promoter Eddie Hearn has been quick to dismiss any uncertainty over a heavyweight world title rematch with Mexican Andy Ruiz Jr. Hearn told the BBC Cardiff in Wales is now the front-running venue to host the rematch on the 14th of December, with a return to New York's Madison Square Garden the second option on the 29th of November, a day after America's Thanksgiving. Delays in confirming the bout have led to speculation Joshua may pass up the chance to win back the IBF, WBA and WBO titles, but Hearn hopes to get the fight finalised in the next few days.
Certainly in the next few days, Andy Ruiz's team will be alerted as to where that fight will take place. Whether we let the media know at the same time, with my mouth probably. And that fight, yeah, I saw a couple of rumours, Joshua, apparently Joshua's not taking. It's not even up for negotiation if he's taking that fight or not. That fight is happening.
Now, off the back of a disappointing performance at the Open for Tiger Woods, the 18-time major winner Jack Nicklaus has told the BBC it's important the American continues to enjoy his golf and focus on his health. Woods, who after years of injury won his 15th major at the Masters in April, failed to make the cut at Royal Portrush at the weekend. It followed several weeks of inactivity.
I had not heard that he was not feeling well, but I suspected that. You just, you don't go into the Open Championship, particularly the last major of the year, and not really have played very much golf and haven't been and not prepared. That's not Tiger. So he had to be hurting, and when he's hurting, obviously that's going to affect his swing. It's going to affect him mentally, and he's going to struggle from it. I think Tiger, what he did at Augusta was fantastic, and to come back, he's made a comeback all the way back, which nobody thought he could ever do, and he did. So we cheered that. We said, well done, and whatever he does in the future, golf-wise, is probably really not that important. What's more important is that he's healthy and that what golf he does play, he enjoys.
Are you shaking in your boots a little less after Tiger's weekend? Because you said after he won the Masters in April that you were doing just that, about him overtaking your incredible record of 18 majors. Tiger's on 15 now. Does that look less likely now after we've seen the problems he's had?
Well, I don't know. Probably. I don't know. I don't really want to put down Tiger by any means, because Tiger's what a work ethic he's got and how great he's been.
Sure.
But it's tough. It's tougher. And he's getting older. We all do that, and he's had a lot of surgeries. Those things add up. But what he's done has been fantastic. So we certainly can't fault any of that.
Following on from their bronze at the Netball World Cup, England's Joe Harton says they need a professional league in order to keep up with the very best. New Zealand and Australia have contested every World Cup final since 1999 and have a professional league. Harton says the big two are no longer feared and feels a pro league in the next 5 years will help to continue to push the sport forward. Formula One racing driver Daniel Ricciardo is facing a claim of more than £10 million, that's around $12.5 million, in alleged unpaid earnings from his former manager. Glenn Beavers has filed a lawsuit in the High Court claiming the 30-year-old has not paid him commissions owed by his new contract with Renault. Ricciardo's lawyer, Jeremy Courtney Stamp, and Embry Partnership says there was no merit in the claim and added they will defend it fully. Just to recap then our main headlines, Adam Peaty has won his third consecutive world title over the breaststroke. Gareth Bale, his future is up in doubt at Real Madrid. We'll have further updates throughout the day, but for now, that's the latest from the World Sport from the BBC.
You're listening to Vaughan Radio from the Federation of St. Kitts Nevis.
Trees have roots and trunks and leaves.
As part of the Go Plant a Tree With Us initiative, the Nevis Historical and Conservation Society NHCS invites all to join the movement to reforest Coconut Walk for future generations on Wednesday, July 24th, 2019 at New River entrance starting 9 a.m. You can register at the Alexander Hamilton Museum on Samuel Hunkins Drive in Charlestown or call 469-5786 or send an email to info@nevisheritage.org. Remember, the true meaning of life is to plant a tree. Trees exhale for us so that we can inhale to stay alive.
Trees, a home for birds and bees. We all need our trees.
It is now 7 o'clock.
With all the power from the tower, this is the powerhouse of the Eastern Caribbean, VON Radio, from the Federation of St. Kitts and Nevis.